Jamie said, Craig, my friend, Trent is now considered as dead weight. What do we do with that? We can't cut it, drop it if you agree. Look, I'm concerned about the Trent situation for two reasons, Jamie. Firstly, losing him. You know, nobody wants that to happen. And look, I know that we're all preparing from it psychologically, but we don't want to lose him. So I'm worried about that. And then I'm also worried about what happens if in the semi-final of the Champions League we come up against Madrid. Because that's entirely possible now. If Madrid get through the Atleti game and the winner of the Arsenal PSV game, they could be sitting there in the semi-final waiting for us. And that that worries me because you can't trust them in that game. I don't care how professional people try to make out like players are. When that hanging over his head, there's no way I'd feel comfortable playing him home and away in the Champions League against Real Madrid. I just wouldn't personally. Yeah, look, I don't have anything. At this point, I'm more than 90% that Trent's gone. I feel like it's done at this point, and Real Madrid are putting out lots more encouraging stuff on their side of the media. And the interesting side for me is you're not seeing much pushback from our side of things, and that's what worries me because I warned everybody all the way through that for me this was Trent looking to have jam on both sides of his bread, and I felt like we were being strung along as fans. And the longer it goes on, I feel like I'm going to be saying I told you so again because he's definitely digging a hole for himself with me, with the fan base. Should have been upfront and honest earlier. And maybe we'll find out someday why Trent decided to leave. But I was drawn to a video that he made talking about his favourite goals growing up. And when he starts talking about a 2002 Champions League final with Zinedine Zidane scoring the goal when he was 3 years of age, come on now. There's no way he remembers that, let alone thinks of it as one of his favourite goals. I think it was in the Adidas video that he did. So there's been lots of signs there to suggest that it is probably going to be a departure for Trent. But now you're starting to see more and more of it come out. Romano saying that Trent or Madrid are obsessed with him and they feel like it's absolutely done at this point. But we just need that confirmation as fans, I think. Sonny, how are you, my friend? Said, Trent has been at Madrid since Christmas. I finished caring about him, staying by Christmas. Just try to enjoy the players we have while we still have them. Look, I've always felt it was likely he would leave, Sonny, but I've never had any confirmation of it. You know, I've been entirely open and honest to say I don't know about the Trent situation, but over the last 48 hours, there's been a real shift in the narrative around the likelihood of moving on. From the Sam Wallace piece onwards, the last 2 days have been filled with a lot of talk of Trent moving to Real Madrid and without much pushback. And journalists I spoke with today, both on and off video, feel like he's going to go as well. So, yeah, it's one that I just hope is dealt with properly by the club. Because, as I've said all the way through this, if his mind was made up a long time ago, it looked quite shitty right now for Trent. That's all I can say. I don't want any toxicity towards Trent, but this is the world we're in. And I think by not being upfront about it and dragging it out as long as it's been, people are going to feel rightly pissed off by it. I know I do as a fan, but certainly not enough that I would ever wish any toxicity or hate towards the lad. But I just don't think it's been dealt with well. And whoever is advising him, if the advice was to just keep quiet and see what happens, I just don't think that's the right advice either. But as I've always said, we've never seen anybody say that he's going to stay. We've never seen him come out and say that he wants to stay, and that's always concerned me. A Teakster, thank you for your super chat, my friend. Very kind of you. Said, let Trent leave. His defensive skills are non-existent. Teams always attack us from his side. We don't need him. For his passes, not his job to pass. We can get better creative midfielders. So, look, I'm not saying I disagree. I agree with a lot of what you've written. I do. I agree with a lot of what you've written, but I won't sit here and lie either and say I wouldn't have preferred if Trent stayed. I would. I would for a couple of reasons. One, it's one less headache for the manager to have to sort out. And two, he's a Scouser. He's a local boy. But I'm not going to lie as well. A Teakster, if he leaves this way, without a transfer fee for the club, with delaying signing of a contract and extension, I'm going to feel pissed off about it. You know, I am. I'm going to put him right in there with the Steve McManamans, the Michael Owens of this world. And his legacy for me will be absolutely tainted. But I can only speak in my own opinion and my own perspective, and I just feel like we've been played here, and I felt like that all the way through. And I got in trouble for it, and people have called me out for it, and people have said, Craig, he's been quiet, he's been respectful, he wants to deal with it behind the scenes. And I can understand that, but like I tried to push back and say, that's great if he stays. All the being, respectful of the club stuff is great if he stays. But if he doesn't stay, which is looking like he isn't, then it starts to feel a very different conversation for me. Stevie boy, how are you, sir? Said, Craig, is there any way this football club comes out and explain why the contracts had not been renewed 2 years ago? Well, I mean, we're not going to get that explanation, are we, mate? We're not. You know we're not. Because that would have to be them admitting that they shit the bed. Now, ultimately, for me, from the contracts perspective, if Virgil and Mo get done, look, I'm going to be happy about it. I would have liked it done sooner, but once they get done, I'll be happy. I think all of us have been preparing for Trent leaving psychologically. So I'm probably a bit less upset about the idea of Trent leaving. I still think it's big shoes to fill for us. I still think Trent's a hugely talented footballer. But it does feel like he's wanted this move, and I don't begrudge him it. It's his career. But, you got to accept the fallout that comes from it, because there will be some very, very angry Liverpool fans. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't think anybody has any right to judge. But, again, I would urge everybody, don't go too far with it. You've every right to feel however you want to feel, but don't be letting it get to hate. Don't be going on with toxicity publicly. It is what it is, If he joins Real Madrid, I and you and many others probably feel it'll be a decision long-term he'll regret. But it's his decision to make. Trent will fit right into that Real Madrid team, and I could understand him wanting to leave, because if you're a player, you don't say no to Madrid. I can understand where you're coming from, but I would say differently. If you're a scouser who's talked about wanting to captain the side, and you're in a team now that's about to win another league, you're talking legacy at that point. And the argument of him having won stuff at Liverpool, that's a very fair argument as well. But you can't deny that Real Madrid coming knocking for a free transfer and Trent finding a way to get out without Liverpool recouping any money, that stings a little bit. It just does. There's no denying it. If Trent was going for 100 million quid and we were hearing that this was a move that he had to try and all this stuff, and he felt like it was necessary in his career, I think people would react differently. But the way that this is happening, the stalling of the contract negotiations, the waiting for the new coach stuff, all the goodwill that people gave to him in the situation, feels like 2 fingers up at this point if he leaves. And that's how I feel. I'm not telling you how to feel, but I'm also not going to have anyone telling me I'm wrong for feeling the way I feel, which is that we've been played. And I warned it all the way through. To me, human nature showed me that Trent was leaving. And we've not seen nothing to doubt it. So what's all this shit about, by the way? That I do want to know. What's all this about now, if he's leaving? For me, the real telling point, and I agreed with, I think it was Jamie Carragher or somebody at the time, said, when this offer came in, maybe it was Gary Neville actually, when the offer came in from Madrid for a really low sum in January, I agreed with whoever it was, whether it was Carragher or Neville, that said this wouldn't have happened without Trent's knowing. And I absolutely believed that at the time, and I believe it now. And again, the biggest indication is no pushback from any of the English journalists against any of this news, or to say that it's bullshit, or to say that Trent's staying. I think that in itself is telling. But again, we still have to wait for the confirmation of it. But I tell you this, and I feel very comfortable in saying this in front of anyone. If Trent is leaving, and the club know that he's leaving, even if he hasn't announced it publicly or not yet, and we play Real Madrid over 2 legs, there's no chance in fucking hell he should be on that pitch. Not a hope. None. Zero. You seen what happened in the United game after news broke the day before around contract offers for Trent, and he put in a horrendous performance. There is absolutely no way on earth that I'd be putting him in that team to play Real Madrid over 2 legs, home or away. Not a chance in hell would I do it. No way. I know Arne Slot wouldn't drop him, but I would. Soon as Bradley was back fit, his ass would be on the bench, and that would be the end of him for me. You know, you made your decision. Now we're going to look to the future. That's the way I see it, whether that's shitty or not. It's the way I see it, and it's exactly what I do as a coach. Especially if the league was won at that point. You know, you're not the future of this club, then, you know, we look to the future.